Hi, I'm Jennifer from Shabby Fabrics. Look at this adorable puff quilt. I made these 20 years ago and they're back in style, and I'm so glad because I had a blast then when I made the quilt and having even more fun now. Now, we made them with a fat quarter set, but because the top fabric is 5 inches, they're perfect for charm packs because those are 5-inch squares. The muslin, which is on the bottom, and I'll show you this as we go through the project, it's very quick and easy to do. This is a 4.5-inch square, but the top is 5, which makes it perfect for charm packs. So you could either go for a very coordinated look like this. This is from the Riley Blake collection. So cute, and these fabrics are available on the website. Or you can go completely random and buy a couple charm packs, and then just a variety of colors. So let me show you how simple and easy it is. Again, muslin or just a plain white, 4.5-inch square, top will be 5. Get some pins handy, you'll need some polyfill. Let's go to the sewing machine. You'll be wanting to use a 1/4-inch seam allowance. This is just a blast making these. Now, I've heard this called different things, from bubble quilt to puff quilt to biscuit, all the same thing. So whatever they're calling it, it's the same technique. So you'll want to line up the two fabrics, one stacked on top of the other, and as you can see in the back, they're not the same size, but they will be in the end. And watch, I'll show you how. We'll get started with a regular 1/4-inch seam allowance. And before you get to the midpoint, you are going to bring that end up so that it meets the 4.5-inch square. And with your fingers, you're just going to push that pleat till about the midpoint. So that pleat will be about midway between this edge and this edge. Don't worry about getting terribly specific. And we'll keep going. Let's do that again. We'll come down to the corner, lift and pivot. Before you get to the midpoint, probably about here, you're going to stop. That's when you'll bring this edge up to the other. So let's do that together again. About here, let's stop. Bring that edge, those edges together. Kind of push that along about at the midpoint. And if you've gone a little too far, you can always lift up the presser foot. Then it kind of sits underneath there. I'll do this one more time because we need to leave the fourth side open. So let's start. One more time, stop. Bring those fabrics together. Push along the pleat to about the midpoint, or wherever you think the midpoint is. Notice I'm not using any pins. There's just no reason for it. Okay, now you would make all of those like that. Then you'll get your polyfill. Use a nice quality polyfill. I have definitely found there is a difference in quality. If you're paying $1.99 a bag, there's a reason for that. So make sure you're getting a good quality polyfill, especially if this is a quilt that's going to be used and washed frequently. So I just get about that much. Whatever you do, you want to do the same across all of the little blocks. So then you'll just put that in. Kind of distribute that evenly. And you have to push it out of the way to go ahead and be able to close that. Now we're going to close it the same way we did everything else. Now I'll push it kind of out of the way. And we can push it around once we have it all sewn together. All right, and I'm going to bring that up. The fourth side is a little bit more difficult just because you're dealing with the pull of that polyfill in there. And then you can kind of just with your fingers even out that polyfill. This is what this will look like once it's completely stuffed, I guess I would call it. Now, like any other quilt, you would just be sewing blocks side by side. This is no different. Of course, if you're going to do the layout that we have, it's a very specific pattern. You're going to want to lay that out in your table so you make sure that you are sewing the correct squares together to create this look that we have these rows going. Or if you're going to be using the charm pack, it might be completely random. Whatever you choose, you'll just place right sides together. I do recommend pinning. I always like to pin when I'm sewing different blocks together to make sure everything comes out the same. So this is the same like you would do with any other block. It's just now you've got a little bit of polyfill to deal with. And I just kind of push it aside. So when you take this to the sewing machine, I just use my left hand to really squish it down. Now, one thing that I remembered is if you use a 1/4 inch seam to sew your squares together, which I've done, you have to go a little bit more than 1/4 inch in order to not have those threads show that you've already sewn. So I'm going a little bit bigger than 1/4 inch right now. And I'll show you what that looks like. Look how adorable this is. And now you'll just keep adding, and of course you'll just keep adding your rows. So that is all there is to how to make the actual blocks. Now, as far as the ruffle on this, be sure to refer to our instructions. Free download on the Shabby Fabrics homepage will show you exactly how to make that ruffle. So if you want to have that complete girly frou-frou, you can absolutely do that. Thanks for joining me today and learning how to make a puff quilt.